We are streaming live on Riverside.fm, YouTube, as well as Twitch.tv. Uh, y'all, only person y'all can see right now is me, unfortunately. But I do have a guest on this morning, and I am very thrilled to have this young lady on. I seen her in a game against Derby. She plays for Garden City. Yeah, that's way out there in western Kansas. To those of you who want to know your geography, I've been to Garden City once in my lifetime, probably about 40 years ago. I was playing for Hutch Community College in the band, not on the field or not on the court. Matter of fact, I believe this young lady, she would make me look like a rookie and she would look like Steph Curry. My guest, Garden City High School. I believe she is a freshman this year. If I'm wrong, she will correct me. Now, I always tend to be corrected. She has a deadly 3-point shot. My guest this morning, this afternoon, Mia Hannigan. Welcome aboard.
Hi.
I only seen you play one time, and I noticed, I think your stats said you averaged like 10 points a game, which means you know how to get to the basket. You know how to shoot it. Also, here you play a combination of point guard and shooting guard. Uh, but the game I saw, you was playing against Derby, and even where I was sitting at, some of the people that were sitting around me, they were like, "Okay, y'all need to guard that young lady. She can shoot." After like the second shot, everybody was like, "Okay, watch that one right there." So, at what age did you find out that you enjoyed the game of basketball?
I think when I was like in fourth or fifth grade.
Fourth or fifth grade. And who were some of your influences who are some of the people that influenced you to pick up a basketball, or was it just something that clicked inside your mind? You were like, you know what, I like this sport. Were there some people that sold into you to get you to where you're at today?
My dad put in the time with me, and I just grew to love the game.
You love the game. Okay, and when you talk about your dad putting the time with you, because I assume that he has his own or had his own academy or his own basketball clinic. Tell me a little bit about that. How involved were you with that as well?
He coached me since I was in seventh grade, and I just enjoyed having the older girls that he coached as like my siblings, and they all bought in time with my dad. It was just a real big family that we all like bought into, and it's just fun.
Absolutely. So that being said, you spent the time. So basically, you just grew up around the game. I mean, what was it like playing against the older kids? Because I'm going to assume that since you picked up the basketball, you've been around the older kids more than people your own age. How does that help you from a competitive standpoint when you're playing against people your own age?
I think it helped me like it's playing with the old girls makes you like stronger it and just making you work harder for the baskets and making it easier to play with your own age.
So I would, if I went on record based on what you just said and based on the small sample size that I happen to have seen when I saw you in person. Like I said, not only did you just not only did you stand out to me, you stood out to some people that were around me. We were impressed. I mean, I know it wasn't the result you were looking for, but you left mighty uh you left a great impression on a lot of us that was in attendance. Would it be safe to say that you have a high basketball IQ?
Oh yeah, I would think so.
And I would go on record and say I would believe so because I seen a couple of plays outside you draining the 3-point shot. I seen one particular play where you went off like a double screen and created your own shot. And my first thought was, if that's not Steph Curry ish, and I've seen a lot of women's basketball, a lot of girls basketball, and that was the closest to a Steph Curry move I had seen coming from the female side. So let me ask you this question: do you watch the NBA or the WNBA or both?
I watch a little bit
You watch a little bit.
of
So
both. Yeah.
so All right, then do you like the college game better than you like the pro game?
I do like the college game better than the pro game.
All right, so who are some of your favorite college players?
I like Haley Van Lith, Georgia Moore, and Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark, okay. And those are some good ones to like right there. I have no qualms with those. Those are some good ones. Now, if you were to have patterned your game after somebody, because I always tell people be yourself, but at the same time, it's okay to pattern your game after somebody. Who would it be?
I think I would pattern my game as Georgia Moore.
Georgia or Moore? And why would you say that? Why would you name her in particular, like, especially with some of the other names that you mentioned?
A lot of people have told me that I remind people of her, and I like to watch her a lot too.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. So we want to make sure that we give your dad some love because he helped make this happen, and I really appreciate him. Uh, what has he taught you about the game of basketball? Because I know you grew up around him, and he basketball has been his life, and he's imparted probably a lot in other people as well too. How much of an impact has he had on you as a basketball player and as a person? Because I'm going somewhere with that question.
My dad has put the ball in my life, and um, he just showed me the game a lot, and to like never give up, always work. He told me that the game gives you back what you put in. So he just says if you don't train, then the outcome won't be as great as you want.
Okay. Now, if I am correct, your scoring average was like 10 points a game, right?
Yes,
Now, would you consider yourself more of a point guard, a shooting guard, or a combo guard?
I would say as for that team, I think I'm a combo guard. That I should get things done, but also move the ball around.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you about things off the court. Like, what are some of your favorite hobbies when you're not playing basketball? Because or let me ask this question. Is basketball your main sport, or are you a two sport or maybe a three-sport athlete?
Basketball is my main sport.
Okay. Now we want to ask you about the classroom because I make sure I ask all my young people this question right here. What is your grade point average?
4.0.
4.0. Now, you being a young people, because me being an older person, I can sound the whistle for education, and they would say, "Well, that's just an old man. That's what he's supposed to do." But with young people, if I can use y'all's terminology, it hits different. So I want you to emphasize what the importance of a good education means to you and why it's so important in life.
Like education, how important it is.
Right. What's the importance of education and why is it so important?
I think education is important because as much as I do like basketball, I want a life outside of it, and I think education really brings you the succession you can have, and if you focus up on that, then there's a lot of things you can do with it.
And I want to say that I appreciate your answer. Now I'm going to ask this question in regards to education. Who are some people that influence you from the education side to keep doing what you're doing? Who are some people that basically impart things into your life to get you to understand the importance of education?
Um, some of my teachers, they support me in many ways, and just they help me out in the classroom. I think that they just showed me to really understand it, and they understand the parts of being an athlete also, and how sometimes you struggle keeping up with work and stuff. So, but they just get understand the hard work that we all put in.
Okay. And this will probably be one of my final questions here. And I want to say that I have enjoyed you thus far. I have enjoyed you on the basketball court, and I've enjoyed you in conversation. And unfortunately, like I said, we couldn't get the video side for you to go up, but at least people will be able to hear your voice. And you will always be on my radar. What I want to ask, because I know at some point you want to experience the college life. So when the recruiters start calling, if they haven't already started calling, I'm pretty sure they have. Someone has noticed you. If little old me has noticed you, I'm pretty sure someone has noticed you. What is one of the things that you look for from a college? I know they're looking at you for the basketball skills, but as you said, how important education is. So, what is it that you look for from a college? What do you look to get out of the college experience, whether it be basketball life, educational life? What's the main thing you look for when the recruiters come talking to you?
I think the college side and the basketball side is very important, but at the same time, I do want a life outside of basketball, and I kind of want to go into law. So I think a really good law program would be something I'd look for in a college, and I think just a coach being like just believing me and understanding my game would be a good thing to have.
Well, I appreciate that answer, and I want to say I want to wish you the best of luck the rest of your high school career. Now, correct me, are you a freshman this year or a sophomore this year?
Freshman.
Freshman this year. Well, I want to wish you the best of luck the rest of your high school career. Uh, from what I've seen, the sky is beyond the limit. I mean, like I say, I was impressed. I will forever be talking about Miss Hannigan, the basketball player, the person, the great guest that you were. Like I said, I'm sorry we couldn't get the link up for you to be on here because people need to not just hear you, but they need to see you as well. But we'll try this again another time down the road. But I want to say thank you for being on my show. Tell your dad thanks. I appreciate him for allowing this to happen because the parents, I have to always thank them for allowing me access to the student athletes. And I want to thank you for sharing your basketball life and also the importance of education. So appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your spring break. All right.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mia Hannigan, guest on the A Train Sports Talk podcast. There is more to come, but let's give her those applause. She's well deserving of it. So thank you very much. All right. All right. That was my guest. And like I said, I'm having some technical difficulties. I don't know what it is. Last week, I was having some difficulties. Couldn't hear the other week. I couldn't hear the guest. Um, and now I'm having problems with people receiving the email link. So I am really hoping that next guest has his link so we can do this. So I hate complications, but make the best of it. And uh, my next guest, matter of fact, I just might buzz him up and tell him he can connect right now because I'm not going to be up here just rambling on and rambling on. And I know once I get my next guest on, we are going to have a good time. And when I say we have a good time, he is a scout. So he gets around and probably sees more basketball, has more access to a lot of things that I don't have, which is why I always say my show is more about my guest than it is me. Sometimes I feel like my guests actually carry the show. And I don't feel bad saying that. I just give credit where credit is due. And go from there. But I'm very appreciative of people like Joel Hannigan, who allows his daughter Mia, who is a freshman, to averaging 10 points a game. Didn't even make first team or whatever team out there in the league she's in. But I tell you what, people's going to know about her. Her her on the court skills, and even in biblical references, your gift will make room for you. And she has the gift of basketball, and she's a 4.0 student, 4.0 GPA in the classroom. and she has that good support system. So, you know, wish her nothing but the best. So I am getting in touch with my next guest. Uh, Try to get him on a little bit early. Those of you who are in Wichita, how are you feeling about this cold weather? Yeah, it dipped down overnight last night. That wind is out there whipping. Feel like if I was to walk outside, I would get blown away to the next county. But anyway, as I'm talking, me and my next guest, hopefully we'll get to talk about a lot of things that was the state finals, some names of young people who have made all league teams, and some future names that we want to keep our eyes on because I know there's some good young talent out there that have made some of these all league teams that we definitely have to keep our eye on. Just as was the case with my last guest, I don't believe she made nobody's all league team, but she's going to be someone worth keeping her eye on. Maybe she made the all newcomer team. I would hope she made somebody's team. You know, as good as she was, and good as what I saw. But you know, things do happen even at that level, just like it happens at the college level, the pro level. You know, some people do have their picks and chooses. Hopefully, I'm not wrong in my assessment in saying that, but those things do happen. But if you have the gift and if you have the talent, even if those close to you don't recognize you, there'll be those in the distance that will recognize your talents and recognize your gift. As is the case right here with my first guest, I definitely want to recognize her because she caught not only my attention, but those who were in attendance at that game. And like I said, I wanted to be one of the first ones to greet her as the team was walking out the door. But it's an emotional time because you fought and clawed to get to that point, only to come up short. So I allowed that space. But if I could have, I would have told her, "Hey, keep your head up. You did a good job." They also have another person on that team. I'm not going to even try to say their name right now because I could kind of visualize it, but it's not right there. And I hope to get them on as well too. But I know that her teammate made either first team or second team. I may be wrong, but she made all league. Her teammate made all league. So we're just up here hoping to get our next guest on sooner rather than later. Okay, there we go. Having some tech issues. I need an IT person. So anybody that's watching this, wherever you may be at, uh, if you know any tech people and any people that know about how to get emails sent out that's not getting, please send them my way. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop a comment in the comment box. Like this video, share this video, uh, all of the above. Let them know the A Train Sports Talk. As well as I'm doing what I'm doing, I need some help. Of course, I'm doing this from the confines of my extra room in the house, so it's not like I have a big studio or anything. And have people that are okay, on in 5, 4. I don't have that. I have to do it all. Basically, I have to be the Jerry Jones. I just hope I don't mess up like a Jerry Jones. Y'all know who Jerry Jones is. He's that owner for the Dallas Cowboys that's run that franchise to the ground. I'm a fan. I can say that. So other Cowboy fans don't try to chastise me because I'm speaking the truth. Y'all know, as Cowboy fans, we've been miserable for almost 30 years, but yet we're all in. Right there. That right there. see if my next guest, uh, or better yet, what I can do while I'm waiting for my next guest, I can possibly look up some things because I'm one of those guys. I see some things, and what I would try to do is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at 2025 Class 3A Acacia Girls State Tournament individual leaders because there were some eye-popping stats. I want to share this. This was 3A in the three games. Kaylin Henny, I believe that's Silver Lake, in her three games, put up 71 points, averaged 23.7 points a game. Kendall Brugen from Heston put up 58 points in the three games. These are all three game stats. 58 points, 19.3 points a game. Carries Dieter from Silver Lake, the teammate of Caitlin Haney. And some are saying that Caitlin Haney, regardless of class, may be the best player in the state, best point guard in the state, regardless of classification. So we will see how that all plays out. Anyway, carries Dieter from Silver Lake, 44 points, 14.7 points a game. Shaylee Holtzmeister from Colby, 43 points, 14.3 points a game. Elizabeth Barton, also from Colby, 39 points, 13 points a game. Addison Willis from Halstead, 38 points, 12.7 points a game. Bailey Barnoff from Halstead. Oh, let me back up. Abby Proctor from Heston, 35 points, 11.7 points a game. Bailey Barnoff from Halstead, 34 points, 11.3 points a game. Jordy Schroeder, Halstead, 32 points, 10.7 points a game. Casey Mason, 32 points from Heston, 32 points, 10.7 points a game. Logan Nolan from Colby, 27 points, 9 points a game. And Kaylee Yoder from Heston, 23.7 points. So those are some of the stats from the uh, scoring averages from girls in 3A. Like I said, a lot is being made about one Kaylin Haney from Silver Lake. I'm just going to let you know right now, the guest I'm looking for is Robert Kelly. And hopefully we can get him logged in here. I know we told him yesterday as we were conversing, 2:30ish. But our first guest, we had her on for a few minutes, and she was a good guest. I just hate they couldn't get the email. So that part I can't figure out how come email wasn't sent. Like I say, that's out of my pay grade. Uh, Also, I want to say that I've already, y'all know, y'all see me with this on a regular basis. Uh, this time of year, I'm not supposed to be doing this right here, but this is March, so it doesn't surprise me. But yes, I got a draft coming in. I got a bad window, so it's kind of chilly. This time of year is unpredictable. I remember a few years ago, I took on a job. I was traveling, and it snowed on me overnight. I had to get back to Wichita. But I want to make mention. You see these shirts. I've already sent two of them out. So uh, also there is a hoodie running around in Derby. Uh, Coach Chadwick, he has that one on. I have sent out 2 T-shirts over this past weekend for my guest, which, by the way, I need to get my last guest, need to get her shirt out. I will be sending these shirts out to my guest. Uh, the T-shirts will run about approximately $15. The hoodies run, I see anywhere between 25 to $30. It is the A Train Sports Talk podcast hoodies and T-shirts. So my guests will be getting T-shirts, but these shirts will also to the general public be for sale. Like I say, T-shirts will run 15, hoodies will run anywhere from 25 to $30. Just way of me getting my brand out there. This is my brand. This is my logo. I love it. When you see it, you know the train is coming down the track. Uh, so like I say, we're waiting on my next guest. See if I may be able to find some more. I do have what is called the United Kansas Conference. Uh, so while I'm waiting, we could take a look at their first team all conference and their second team all conference. Uh, this is the United Kansas Conference 2024-25 girls basketball all conference team. First team from DeSoto, Mackenzie Farmer, a senior. Also from DeSoto, a senior, Quinn Carpenter. A junior from Piper, that's up there in the Kansas City area, Faith McCallop. And I'm just going to assume that this is her older sister who is a senior by the name of Grace McCallop from Piper as well, too. Then rounding out team would be Anna Becker, senior from Seaman, Maddie Gregg, a junior from Seaman, and KK Emot, sophomore, Shawnee Heights. Second team all conference would be Delaney Whitcop, a freshman from Baker Linwood. So definitely keep our eyes on her, along with her teammate, who has one more year to go, in Kenley Christopher, a junior. And then we have another freshman on the second team in Layla Brown from Leavenworth. And then we have Eva Esser and Kenley Wilhelm, both seniors from Seaman, along with Rihanna Vega, a junior from Shawnee Heights, and Imani McGlory, junior from Topeka West. So there's your first and second team conference. Also, we will take a look at the honorable mention all conference. May as well give them some love as well too. Uh, Alania Shawasow, a junior from Baker Linwood. Addison Gully, junior from DeSoto. Addison Galloway, a senior from Lansing. Jordan Kuntz, junior, Lansing. Aviana Garrett, a senior from Leavenworth. Then Piper is represented on here with Avery Vallejo, a senior, and Briley Gerber, sophomore. So Piper look like they're going to be in good hands, at least with a couple of returning players who are making either honorable mention or all league teams. So like their program is going to be on good, solid footing. Jada Stahlbomber, senior from Seaman. Cadence Torres, senior, Shawnee Heights. Taylor Breeze, senior, Shawnee Heights. Sydney Van Dyke, sophomore, Topeka West. And Jersey Hannah, senior from Turner. Co-players of the year: Anna Becker, Seaman, a senior, and Mackenzie Farmer, DeSoto, senior. Coach of the year: Matt Tisley, Seaman. So applause those who made postseason first, second, honorable mention, and also player of the year and coach of the year. So we're still waiting on my guest to make his appearance. I just, who knows, I may just give him a call. He, I'm gonna tell you who my guest is. I normally don't like to let the cat out the bag, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it this time. His name is Robert Kelly. I think it's Prep Girls Hoop publication. You ought to, if I got that name wrong, you will correct me on the show. You ought to look into getting a subscription with that publication because there's a lot of information out there, uh, especially on the girls' side. Hopefully, he will be plugging in within at least the next 2 minutes here. Uh, 'Cause he's very knowledgeable. Like I say, he knows more than I will ever know. But yet, I'm trying to get to know, and y'all have to excuse my movement around because I am in some leg pain. And as comfortable as this seat can be right now, I'm very uncomfortable. So sometimes I have to move around to get comfortable. But as you are watching this video, and I'm streaming live on YouTube and Twitch.tv, uh, those of you who were in attendance of basketball games, whether it was here in Wichita or wherever state tournaments were being played, what were some of your takeaways from the games, both boys and girls? I have to say that at the end of the day, I was impressed. Anytime a team can run it back to back, I'm impressed. Had the chance to see Keaton Wagler, Illinois commit, up close and personal. Definitely had my eye on Ethan Taylor. By all accounts, this may be his last year at Shawnee Mission Northwest. I talked with some of the fans there, and they was like, "Well, we sure hope not." But you also understand why he has to make this next jump if that's the case. Word has it that he's possibly prep school bound. I've made my prediction and said like this: he could either end up at Link Prep Academy, which is in Branson, Missouri, which that wouldn't surprise me if he ended up there. I also said he could also end up at Sunrise Christian Academy. Now, last I knew, as far as strength and conditioning coach, Kerry Rosenboom was still there. Which, if that would be the case, then he would definitely have an upper hand on getting strength and conditioning for his body, so he can be ready to make that move to the next level. Of course, he's already getting looks from Power Five schools. Now, I do have a friend that was in the radio industry, but due to the fact that that show is no longer on the air, for some reason he is not impressed with Ethan Taylor. I was thoroughly impressed the way that when I seen this game, and when you, I like I said, I talked to some of the fans, and they was like, years ago, because they've been watching him since he was in the seventh grade. They was like, years ago, the boy couldn't move his feet. What I'm seeing now is a young man who knows how to post up, knows how to recognize double teams, knows how to find the open man. Oh, and he put up a pretty good stat line, 20 plus points, these double figure rebounds. I mean, he commanded a lot of attention, which created openings for other teammates. So I was impressed to get to be down there front row pretty much, seeing a gifted athlete. Yeah, I'm gonna call my friend's name out. Jeffrey Lutz. He's not a big Ethan Taylor fan. Yes, I called him out. I can do that. Y'all can't do that. So y'all try that. But I was very impressed with Ethan Taylor. On the girls' side, in the finals game, it was Derby, team that I've followed throughout the last couple of years now. It's been a magnificent ride to follow them and to be accepted in that community as well. But they went up against Blue Valley North. And this is the second year in a row I've seen that Blue Valley North Derby game. And when you say Blue Valley North, first you say Ann Fritz, coach. She is somebody's coach. Then you say names like Jalea Davis, Arbery Shaw, but they had a good plethora of role players as well too. Jalea Davis, with all her accolades, postseason accolades, going to KU, speaks volumes. But what also speaks volumes is Arbery Shaw. Granted, Jalea Davis, rightfully so, coming in with a lot of fanfare. Arbery Shaw, I believe she's equally as talented and at Harvard. Can, can I say that again? This is no knock on power schools either. Arbery Shaw, I've seen her play. It's the second year in a row I got to see her, witness her on the court. I believe she could go to any Power Five school she wanted to. She's going to Harvard. That is to be commended. And the reason I bring that up, because if I can run back in time, I'm still waiting on my guest. So now, if he doesn't by chance log in, I have just given myself some ammunition. You think about this young lady going to Harvard and run it back to Grace Buyer. If I can pull her up, because she was a ultra gifted, talented person coming out of high school. So let me give you the rundown on her. Grace Buyer is a former women's college basketball player who established the all-time women's NAIA scoring record while playing for the University of Health Science of Pharmacy, Eutetics, finishing her career with 3,961 points. Can I tell you something? That was more points than Caitlin Clark. Only difference is Caitlin Clark did hers in front of packed houses, went on to the WNBA. Grace Buyer was recruited heavily by some schools, but those schools didn't fit her academic standards. And that's why she ended up going to some school, NAIA, somewhere buried in the state of Missouri, I do believe. And while she was there getting her degree, she was breaking records on the basketball court without much fanfare, which is why I say kudos to Arbery Shaw going to Harvard, because you know that's education. but at the same time, she's going to find some time to pick up a basketball. And I believe she's going to leave her stamp academically and on the court. So Harvard, I would say, is definitely getting a special talent in Aubrey Shaw. And that being said, we want to applaud you. See, a lot of people are saying that terminology student athletes is being diminished. These kids aren't really going to school. These kids aren't really in. It's all about going to this school or finding the next stop. And no, there are actually some that are actually going to school, that are getting their education, that realizes that at the end of the day, education is what's important. And I did get some confirmation that my next guest will be on. Says, how do I? Well, let me see here. I'm just waiting for him to connect. And as soon as he connects, we will be ready. But back to what I was saying, that, there are some student athletes, and the word is student. We're trying to get him to connect here, and I'm going to let y'all hear this call. He is calling me right now. Yes, sir, Mr. Robert Kelly.
Hey, how do I get connected in?
Let me see here, because I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm actually in the progress of the show. But ladies and gentlemen, I have Robert Kelly on. Uh, I'm just gonna say like this: there should be some uh a link provided with the instructions how to connect. As soon as you can log in, we'll be ready to go. All right?
Was that on my email or
Yeah, it was on
what
the
was that?
email. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll go take a look at it then.
All
Do you
right.
want me to look at it and just click on it then,
Just
or
click on, and we'll
okay?
we'll get your face up here on this screen.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Sounds great. All
All
right.
right. See, I can do that. I can do that. But yeah, I ain't forgot where I was at. I was talking about Arbery Shaw. So I have no doubt to believe that she definitely was. If she wasn't a 4.0, she was close enough to a 4.0, because you have to have some grades and academics to get into a Harvard. And if I'm correct, Ivy League schools aren't just passing out athletic scholarships. They're more in tune to pass out academic scholarships where they pass out athletic scholarships. So that's even more impressive that she is excelling not just on the basketball court, but also excelling in classroom. And this is not a good thing either. So what I am going to have to do, I am going to have to give Mr. Kelly a call. So y'all just bear with me. I don't know why people aren't getting their emails. So let me do this. Okay. We are going to give him a call, and we're going to do it this way again, looks like.
Hey, I clicked on an old one. Is that going to work all right? Yes.
Okay. You say you clicked on the old one. Well,
Yeah.
I tell you what we're doing. I just went ahead and called you because you're the second person that's done told me y'all haven't got the link yet. So
Okay.
what we're doing
That's
is
fine.
I got you on the line. I got you on the phone line. So, ladies and gentlemen, my second guest today, and he has a hard act to follow, which I'm sure he can do it. So you can call him the cleanup hitter. Uh, let me- you're right. Hey, we got to make the best of the situation, okay? So, for some reason, I've been having problems with my guests getting their email links. So, you have to always, they say there's more than one way to skin a cat's rear end. This next guest I have on, this will not be his first time on the train ride. So, that means that he's very trustworthy, that I'm going to proceed with caution. He is a scout prep. I always get them acronyms mixed up. What's it called again? PGH. What is it called again?
Oh, just remember PGH. It stands for Prep Girls Hoops.
Prep Girls Hoop. So I have been getting it right. Prep Girls Hoop. Like I said, he's no stranger. I would introduce him, but I'm going to introduce him to some and present him to others. And let me put the disclaimer: don't you dare call him R. Kelly because you know where R. Kelly is at. This is Robert. This is Robert Kelly. Uh, Prep Girls Hoop. Welcome to the show once again.
Thank you.
I
Thank
had
you.
to, I played with it. I'm like, I'm gonna have to use this one day, and it's just perfect. So, man, you talk about a very entertaining week of high school basketball last week. What
It was a very, very busy time.
very busy, and you know, I'm up here just rambling and running and talking, and I was just talking about Aubrey Shaw, how she's going to Harvard, and
Hmm.
when you think about that, before we really dive off into that, I want to definitely talk about this because we know those Ivy League schools are not giving out athletic scholarships.
Right.
That that's more academic than anything, and the fact that you know she's good on the basketball court, but she's also killing it in the classroom.
Right.
So we definitely have to talk about that. I mean, when you stop and think about it, Harvard, higher academic standards. So to be able to get
Right.
into that school, you definitely got to have grade point average. And I'm gonna say it like this: you have to have academic stamina. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
What's that?
I said the floor is
Say that again.
yours. Yeah.
Well, you talk about the Ivy League schools, and one of the things that it triggers me because I've worked at the collegiate level, both at the 4-year and the 2-year level as past life as a library director, but you're involved in academic support and all sorts of things, and you learn about a variety of different standards and criteria to get into place. Probably um, closest situation I was in that might be like that was when I volunteered with the women's basketball team at Colorado College, and and they don't take just anybody there. And it was a nightmare trying to recruit anybody to go to school there because a lot of kids may have the talent to play there, but they didn't have the grades to do it. And it's also the kind of it's the kind of school is just because you have the grades and you have the GPAs, the standing you have in your class, and you have all these academic you know standings and honors, is that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be allowed in.
Hmm.
They're looking at a lot of other things, uh, in terms, other intangibles, what you're involved in, what kind of person you are, things like that. So, it's a big deal getting into Harvard.
Absolutely.
It's a real big deal.
So for her to be able to get in, you just have to applaud that. So that goes to dedication in the classroom and whatever it took to get in there. And also, I would say like this: she has some good support, a good support system. Someone that knew her goal, her determination, and they backed her and supported her to the very end. I couldn't help but bring up the fact that sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are on the court. Some student athletes, and the term student athletes, uh, you know, they're just that. They're students first, and then they're athletes. And I brought up the Grace Buyer from a couple of years ago, who all she did was score like
Right.
3,900 points. Actually had more collegiate points than Caitlin Clark did. Only difference is Caitlin Clark did what she did in front of millions to view and thousands at the game, whereas Grace, what she did was in front of maybe 200 or 300 people without no fanfare.
Right.
But she was a stickler for
Right.
academics, and none of the power schools met her academic criteria, which goes to say that with the Arbery Shaw situation, it just goes to show that even today, it's not about what you can provide me on the court, but what can you provide me in the classroom. So that's I mean that's mind blowing right there. Anyway, I know we went on a long time about that, but
Right.
if we don't mention that, nobody will know anything about it. You know, and they'll be like, "Well, what happened to her?" Everybody know about Julia Davis, and I'm not knocking that, but when these young people are doing it in the classroom and going to these schools of these higher standards, somebody has to sound the whistle. And you know what? It may as well be us.
Right.
So,
Yep. I mean, she had to work hard, um, to stand out and academically to catch attention like that and
absolutely.
hold attention once it's been grabbed. You know, sorry. Sorry about
No
that.
problem.
COPD is a real thing. It's a drag. So, um, anyway, yeah. So it's a big deal. I mean, I tip my hat to her that and she could have gone anywhere. It's in a long list of offers, and she chose to go to Harvard. And that's a pretty major decision. And one of the things that's hard to think about for a young person is where you go to school, depending on what your program emphasis, where you go to school matters and how well you do there, because much like maybe athletic ability or just academic ability or musical ability opens doors. Those open doors into opportunities that other people don't have, and those doors lead to another, and lead to another. So it's kind of who gets you in the door, and what keeps you there.
All right.
And provides other opportunities. And, so, 10 years down the line, you know, who knows what she'll be doing,
Right.
you know, because it isn't just anybody who goes to Harvard, and they've got a couple hundred years worth of I don't know how long Harvard's been around, but it's one of an early school. There's a lot of history there, a lot of connections, and a lot of very famous people went to college at Harvard.
Absolutely.
So, um, so it just opens lots of opportunity.
Right.
So I think it's a really big deal.
All right. So now we're
I'm
going to
not
go
saying
ahead.
nothing, no disrespect to other universities, but
Right.
Ivy League. Yeah.
Right. So now we're going to move on because I know you had a chance to check out a few games and those that you didn't get to go see physically. Whenever your stream wasn't buffering, you was watching online. So, what were some performances that
Right.
what were some performances that stood out to you during the state basketball tournament?
Um, you have to tip your hat off to Halstead as a team, um, uh, because they ran into Heston earlier, during the school year, and Heston um, worked on them.
Hmm.
So there was a pretty good likelihood of Halstead running into Heston again at the state tournament, but Heston got derailed um, midway through the fourth quarter through some snafus, and it caused the players to kind of tighten up, and they got beat. But Kendall Bergen she had 20 in the first half. I mean, she was well onto a 40-point night, and there was nothing Silver Lake was doing to stop her. So really a lot of why Helston lost was self-inflicted. There wasn't anything else that Silver Lake did to him. Silver Lake was to the point where they're having to pick up full court and trying to create some things that way because they had to make up some ground because Heston wasn't giving away anything. And then Silver Lake managed to pull that one out and go on to the state championship. And Casey Young and Jordy Schroeder and company, they came back from 13 down, and from what reports were to me is that Silver Lake tightened up also in the fourth quarter, like Heston did, and got beat. And so Casey Young, Jordy Schroeder, Addison Wills, that backcourt. I mean, the coaching staff did a great job of preparing them from opponent because their strategy changed every game. And it was really kind of neat to see how they adjusted, based upon the opponent that they were playing. I also think, if there were any doubters, the best point guard in 3A without, and it's not even close, is Kaylin Hanning.
I was going to mention
And
that.
and she has been for a couple of years now. I mean, well, on a loaded team, she came as a freshman in the state tournament and still played, and contributed. And what makes her so great, she's got such just a really diverse skill set, is she recognizes when her team needs her to score, needs to carry. And that happened early in that game against Heston. You could tell about 3 or 4 minutes into the game, you could just see her feeling like, all right, I'm going to have to carry this team. And she did. She scored and she did everything possible. But what she is so great at, her skill set, is she makes everybody around her better. She doesn't have to score for them to win. She could create, she blocks shots, she can probably generate 10 or 12 assists if she wants to. She has extremely quick hands, a smart defender. Kaylin Hanning's fun to watch. It's not probably fun to be on the receiving end when she works you over.
Right.
So that was definitely a performance to watch. Definitely.
So
I think you got to tip your hat to to Colby, with their backcourt with Logan Nolan and company. Um, they just came out and were not that for the quarterfinal game. Colby hadn't been there in quite a while, and they just came out on the game and act like it was just old hat. And and when their opponent tried to pick them up full court, what happened was what I expected. Colby just slashed through them like a hot knife through butter. And when I went on to the next game against Halstead didn't press them. They didn't even try. They just played tough half court defense and forced turnovers. And Halstead only had 3 turnovers the entire game.
Wow.
Against them.
Wow.
So just to even get that Logan Nolan, who's going to be going to Colby Community College, small guard. She and that experienced team did a terrific job. I think a shout out to Shaylee Holzmeister from Colby. She drew the assignment of Kaylin, the kid from Osage City, who's got almost 500 points already. And Shaylee shut her down. She's about the same size. Shaylee's a senior, and let me find. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the name. But
I do that all the time.
Lexi, Kaylin Boss. There we go. Kaylin Boss. She finished with 16, but half of those came during garbage time in the fourth quarter when it was a 25-30 point game. It was already over. But the first half, first quarter, she hung a couple threes and she showed her ability to attack the basket and score with athleticism. But Holzmeister shut her down after that. She didn't get any looks or easy. Colby figured out some predictability in her offensive game. And every time she tried to do her little pet move, Colby was right there and shut her down, turned the ball over, and down the floor they went, or got the offensive rebound and took off. And I got to give credit to the coaching staff there, but also the Colby Trojans are an experienced group, and they fight the very difficult schedule, which includes, Goodland and Holcomb and some of the 5A schools out there, and that are strong.
Right.
So Osage City wasn't showing them anything they hadn't seen, and they've run into really strong teams before, and they just kids have been playing together for years, and they picked up probably about midway through the second quarter how to shut her down, and they did.
Right.
So you got to definitely tip a hat to players like Shaylee Holzmeister, another kid that I thought played really well was Sienna Carter from Derby.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
I thought defensively she did really good because Tink Lucas from Wichita East had 2 points, and who drew her defensive assignment was Carter.
and
And Lucas could get any clean looks in anything.
and if I could add this, when you talk about Sienna Carter, the first time I seen her was the first game of the season when Derby took on Andover, playing without Michaela Askew.
Mm-hmm.
They lost that game, but it was a dogfight. And the first person I noticed, well, I noticed Michaela wasn't there. And there was also another girl on the team that I was looking for to be in uniform. I didn't even see her name on the program because she decided that she was going to concentrate her efforts on softball. So that would be Carson Carpenter. So we know was not playing
Right.
because she's not playing. So the first person I noticed on the court, and this is with all
Right.
the weapons that Derby has, was Sienna Carter. I'm like, wait a minute, who is this? I'm looking at, I'm like, she's a freshman, and she's not playing like a. I mean, her game caught my attention the first time I seen her, and I've been hooked ever since. Because my analogy, especially of that Derby team, is this right here. Michaela Askew is a
Mm-hmm.
threat to score anywhere from 20 to 30 points game in and game out. Only thing is, she doesn't have to.
Right.
And then I seen the growth of the team. Right, they lost the first
Mm-hmm.
game playing without her. Fast forward to after the GWAL ABCTL challenge, which was out there at Parkman Arena, well, Park City
Mm-hmm.
Arena, or she went off for 33 points against Southeast. Some about arenas that she just lights up. But she had to take another game off because they had a family event
Right.
out of town. And here's where you seen the growth of the team.
Mm-hmm.
They won the game without her because they have so many other weapons to whereas you just can't focus on Michaela, which then in essence would open it up for her to have one of those 20, 30 point games. When you have and like Sienna Carter,
Yeah.
she's a defensive lockdown person, but she could also be an offensive threat. You have Soraya Graham who has a sweet stroke from 3 point line. And the thing about Soraya, check this out. I
Right.
grew up, I'm getting old when I say I grew up with her grandfather. And then you have a you have Asia Fox. And what can I say about her? That I mean, if you are an opponent, okay, one of the things you look at is if you know someone's going to be guarding, you look at your size them up and down like, okay, I got this. Asia Fox puts me in this mindset right here. And Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And and
That's such a great line.
Asia Fox is that one. When you look at her, you're deceived by her size. You're looking at her as this is not a basketball player until she punches you in the mouth, and you find out she's pretty much a Swiss Army knife. She can D you up. She can also slice you and dice you on the offensive end. I mean, they just have so many weapons, and the fact that they're only losing two seniors, and I hope that whoever replaces them, and you said the other day, Alex Dinsmore, she's another youngster. I mean, Coach Chadwick
Mm-hmm.
believes in if you're a freshman and you can play, you're going to play, and you're going to be in that rotation. But yeah, when you said Sienna, yeah, I lived like a kid in a candy store because it's going to be a joy watching her and Sarai and Alex over the next 3 years, man.
Right.
Actually,
Yep.
watching him next year.
Right. One year at a time. Right. Step,
I
step
mean,
1 year at a time.
right. And the thing about Sienna, she was not, the moment wasn't too big for her. Fast forward to the state title game. Yes, Derby took a loss. Of course, a lot of teams took losses against Blue Valley North in that tandem that they had. But she was not phased by the fact that she was going up against a McDonald's All American, Gatorade Kansas Player of the Year, KU commit, Player of the Year in that league. Uh, it didn't phase her that she was going up against somebody's last name Davis, first name Jalea, who, once again, here's how you know you're getting old. I went to school at Hutch Community College with her dad, William Davis.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she is unfazed. The moment doesn't get too big for her. She is definitely poised way beyond her years. So I didn't mean to
Right.
take the ball
Yep.
back from you like that, but when you mention her
Oh
name,
no.
when you mention
Uh.
that name, I mean, kudos. I mean, what more can you say? Derby's program is in
Right.
good hands for the. I mean, take it 1 year at a time, but for the next 3 years, they're in good hands.
Yeah, I think out of the, if you look at just from a out of the West in 6A, they keep the divisions separate like that. Derby's got to be a favorite year in year out to return to state. I mean, they're deep, and and in general, quite honestly, a lot of 6A um, teams, on the west side of the bracket, are very cyclical on how good they are, and Derby's Derby's always competitive. They always are, and they just have a good flow, I think, of talent, and so I think Derby's definitely one of, if not the favorite, to return to the state tournament next year in 6A. I think
Absolutely,
definitely.
absolutely, I agree.
So
And the thing that now we know Coach Chadwick has been coaching for some time, but this is just his second year at Derby.
right,
And when you think about the record that he has compiled in 2 years, and I don't want to get in trouble with Coach Ben Hamilton, but I'm just I just might have to say, based on his record as well, Coach Chadwick would definitely have to be ABCTL Coach of the Year, hands down, because this team, I don't think they were projected to. I mean, I knew what they had coming back. I knew, at least I knew one singular person and a couple of role players, but their projection was not to make it to the final, and they did it. And that you have
yeah,
you have to credit that to coaching.
it's yeah, you do, and the growth of the team. I mean, how much better Michaela is than she was a year ago is a big difference. She long has had a well-developed small forward skill set, and the state tournament was the first time I saw her with a power forwards mentality. She was creating space. She was really, well, knocking people around with physicality to grab rebounds, to get putbacks, to just doing the kinds of things you would expect a power forward to do. And the growth in that area of her game um, over the season was huge. I mean, the rest of the skill set that was already there. She'd been playing with that skill set for quite a while, shooting threes and running the length of the floor, and her passing and the length. Just she's added some of those things you'd expect to happen with a power forward banging underneath, and then they throw in her hops where a lot of rebounds that went up. She's nearly an elbow ahead over everybody else getting to it,
Hmm.
and scoring through contact. I was pretty impressed with just how her game has grown over the year.
Right. Uh, Another game of interest We might not touch up on all games, but when you look at that 5A side, now, me, I want to say I really wasn't surprised that Hayes got knocked off, even though they looked like they were probably the perennial favorite to win it all. But it kind of reminded me of how Wichita State and Kentucky was paired up in the NCAA tournament. How a lot of people said that was some misseeding going on. And those games actually probably turned out to probably be the best game in the tournament those years. But I think Hayes ended up going up against St. Thomas, and I thought
Right.
that was a bad draw. And the reason I thought that was a bad
Well, it
draw,
was a bad draw.
and the reason being
Yeah, it
that
was a bad draw.
because
You know,
you're looking at a team that had previously won 7 straight titles until they ran into Maize South last year. Oh, and by the way,
right.
if Maize South takes care of business, just to add fuel to the fire, if you beat this team, there's a possibility you get to face the team that knocked you out of the tournament last year and ended your streak.
Right.
So yeah, it's like, to me, when I seen it, I'm like, ooh, they got Hayes in the crossfire because you teach your team to take games one game at a time. But if you're St. Thomas, you're looking at, okay, let's slay this giant and let's get our revenge. So there is a way you can look ahead at the next game and also take care of business. It just so happened May South got knocked out in the first round. But yeah, I believe
Right.
all the motivation, and it was a setup for Hayes to put them in that game against St. Thomas, and we've seen what happened. So that did not surprise me. But what about you? Were you surprised at that outcome?
Well, I kind of felt it was a coin flip game. I thought that um, I thought if Kraus got into foul trouble and tried to or got into playing a full court game with Hayes, um, they had a shot of getting run out of the gym because Hayes was deep at guard. They've got a lot of size, and they just they're speed, experience. They haven't been to state, but the kids they have are very experienced. They've seen what some strong teams are because their opening season tournament, they played against some strong teams. I mean, 3 years running, Rural didn't go out there this year, but 3 years running, Hayes beat Rural all 3 times they played them. They beat Olathe West. They beat a very, very, very strong Sunrise Christian Academy team that was very big. They beat them. They beat Wellington. And I know for the past few years, coach has been doing some things to try to increase the difficulty of their non-league schedule, because of the talent that he had, the talent that was coming up, and the possibility was very real for them to win a championship. And that team was loaded this year, and they were running nearly everybody out of the gym. So I thought, um, I never thought Aquinas could run them. I didn't think they had the capability of doing that. But if they could keep it close and for Costa to get in foul trouble, I mean, it was going to be a coin flip game. And it seemed like that's just kind of what happened. And you throw in the motivation to, for those returners from last year, who had their streak broken, to want to reset the record, and if they get the chance, to get Maize South, that would be bonus. But I thought that if Hayes won that game, Hayes was going to the state title game because there wasn't anybody else in front of him on the other side of the bracket who was going to stop him. There weren't. They were going to stop him. They're just too deep, too good, too fast, too everything. And now whoever they ran into, state in the state championship game, it was just it's all about matchups. Them against St. James Academy, Ooh, I don't know about that one. But with them against Seaman, yeah, I think Hayes could run Seaman. Um, but that none of that wound up developing. St. James Academy, I thought, had a great shot at winning the state title and got beat. They beat Aquinas 2 out of the 3 times they played them this year, including the last 2 times. So that kind of got in their head, and I watched them. They matched up for the tournament championship game at the Newton tournament earlier this year, and Aquinas had a very difficult time dealing with the size and the length and the talent of St. James's bigs. Really had a difficult time with that. And it took really perimeter shooting and some timely baskets by a couple of their guards, and their post players just kind of had to hang in as best they could because they were, just a little on the overmatched side. I mean, they're not saying they're bad. It's just that the St. James Academy's bigs are really good, and St. James is going to be right there near the top again next year.
Okay.
Between Reagan Becker coming back next year, and Ireland Sullivan, in my opinion, might be the best freshman in the state. A 6-foot power forward for St. James.
Okay.
She can flat play. No disrespect to Schmiedler out of Hayes. Delia Williams from Lathan North, got to see her play. Delia Williams is the best point guard in freshman class. Period.
And speaking of
Ireland Sullivan is tough. Right.
You said something about Lathan North.
Yeah, Lathan North. I mean,
I had a chance to see them play.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, well, Williams went down in the first half, right at the end of the first half. Concerned, about, I'm standing underneath the basket. I didn't see the play happen. I wasn't looking at it because I was like, oh, there's all this contact. I'm not going to be able to get a picture. I was looking off the ball. And she came, she fell wrong, came down wrong. But fortunately, she was able to come back for the semifinal game. And, that's a pretty testament for her toughness. But Delia Williams, Lathan North is the real deal. She is kind of, she and Sienna Carter are built very similar. She's a little taller. I'd say Sarai Graham's kind of in that mold also. But she's a very physical player on both ends of the floor, and she takes an enormous load off of Asia Lee with handling the ball. And she can just lead the team. And I think Delia Williams is tough. She's really tough. So, I mean, of any of the players that I've seen play this year, I'd say Delia Williams is the best point guard in the state.
So, I want your analogy on this right here. Where is the most talent size at? Is it on the girls' side or is it on the boys' side? In other words, if you are a college basketball coach and you're coming to the state of Kansas, who's most likely to get recruited by a power school first, girls or boys?
Well, I don't watch the boys' game. I don't watch. I'm not that familiar with a lot of the players, but I've gone to my fair share of Jayhawk Conference Division I games, and one of the things that is a change from years ago with regarding bigs is the bigs aren't just, you don't just spend most of your time around 10 feet of the basket working in the paint like old school. I mean, you find 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" guys running up and down the floor and trapping on the wings. And, the quickness and you don't just have to be, the size. You have to be fast. You have to be quick. If you think you're going to play at a big time school, even a big time JUCO, some strong NAIAs and D2s and whatnot, is you can't just play within 10 feet of the basket. You have to be able to handle the ball. You have to be, you have to be a great 3-point shooter, but it helps you. But you need to be able to have that kind of range to be a threat. Because you might need to be the one taking the shots out there. And I think that is less the case with the girls. There are bigs that can do that. There's quite a few of them that can, but really, the shooting aside, the bigs in high school going into college, you need to have a really good face up and back to basket game. You have to be able to knock down shots within 10, 12 feet of the basket. You have to be able to guard for 35 seconds, and all over the floor. And the schools that are looking for, depending on the size of the school, are looking for 5'10" on up, they're looking for strength, they're looking for physicality, they're looking for the ability to shoot the ball, the ability to finish through contact, quickness, just a lot of those intangibles. So I think overall, some of the things that bigs are asked to do in the women's game is just a tick less than in the men's game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of makes it difficult for, even AC teams with, a 6'8", 245-pound big. So,
Right.
there's 6'8", 245 bigs on the boys' side of the game all over the United States. What else you got? If that's all you are, you're going to have a difficult time playing anywhere.
Okay.
So I think the opportunity is a little bit more. I think opportunity is a little bit more for Kansas high school ranks. And if you can do even most of those games, outside of the top maybe 10, 12 players in a class, everybody else has got a lot of the game that needs polished. And so, the schools that are recruiting you for what they think they can turn you into, not for what you are right now. You have to have the underlying talents there, because they'll turn you into what they need from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're looking for some of that. But, some of the questions I typically get: can they shoot the ball? Can they finish? What are the parents like? Those are some of the questions I get. There's, are they coachable? Because there's, if you look at some of the college ranks, some of the talented kids that are playing in Kansas schools, there's a fair number of them that aren't getting a lot of minutes at the college level because they weren't polished enough coming in, and they're still projects in progress, and they're still coming along. They'd still walk into their high school gyms and crush everybody in their high school because they're 5 times the player they were when they walked out the door. But they're not quite where they need to be yet to get important minutes at the colleges that they're playing for. So a lot of kids need to understand that you're not expected to have polished games already. There's a lot of work ahead, and it starts for a lot of schools. It starts the moment you graduate. They want you on campus quickly because they want to start working on you.
Absolutely. So, you was talking about a particular. I can't think what her name is that you was talking about a while ago, and when you was describing her, you said she could score, but she also knows how to take over game. I guess it was somebody that won the state games. But when you was talking
Yeah, it was
about her,
Kaylin. Yeah.
okay, when you was
Hmm.
talking about her, it kind of put me in the mode of sound like you're talking about Zoe. We all know who Zoe is, Cape Mount Carmel.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, sound like you're
Uh,
talking about two similar players right there. And if you ask me, what, and I want to know if you see this being a trend as well too, because I've seen it up close and personal. Like for instance,
Hmm.
Ashley Singletay, who's at Butler County, she came from Eureka. She stepped her game up, went
Hmm.
to Made South. She was 5A Player of the Year coming out of Made
Hmm.
South. Uh, you look at what uh, Samaya Ellis did. She came from the same school that Zoe came from. Imagine them two being on the same team together. That would have happened. we can only imagine. But she went from the
Yeah.
independent school to Wichita Heights. Uh, what 1,500 points for her career, I believe, at Heights or all combined together. And now you look at
Yeah,
Zoe.
I
Is
don't
I
I don't
mean,
know how many points I don't know how many points that she put up when she was at Sunrise Christian her freshman year.
but I mean, to be able to come from a smaller classification and step in and do what you're doing. I mean, is that going to be a trend that we see that these young ladies you know, because regardless how good they were at a lower level, there's going to always be that noise. All right, can they do it at this level? And the three I just mentioned, they've all done it. So is that going to be a trend we see?
But well, you know, a lot of it I think is tied to yes, you come up and sometimes you just have raw physical talent and you grow and you wind up growing up around people. You're in the gym all the time, you know. Um, Nia Hagen, for instance, you had her on earlier.
Yeah.
She grew up in a gym, and the kids that went through game ball basketball that are off playing, Division 2, Division 1 basketball, and different places, at um, NJC double A Division 1s. She grew up with all those kids, and she went through the drills, the individual drills that he would run them through. She went through all of those too. She just learned and ran through them. And the girls just, you know, took her under their wing and just worked with her like they would anybody else. So, she developed elite ball handling skills at a very young age just because she had constant training from a great trainer, which happened to be her dad,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so I think a lot of it is, and Zoe's this way as well. You know, I'm talking with her. She has told me about. She does when she's so unflappable. So I grew up playing with boys all the time, and it's just nothing really bothers her because nothing's being done to her she hadn't seen before and hadn't been playing against for years.
Right.
Including the game speed. The game speed. And it's different. So let's say her freshman year at Independent. If you watch some of those games that she played, she made kids around her look like they were standing still.
Well,
I mean, it just her, and it's not necessarily because she's let's say a great athlete. She's a great basketball player, and she just knows how to play the game, and that includes setting people up to get a step.
mm-hmm.
And when I saw them play against Colgan, Colgan looked like they were standing in cement. I mean, it was just not even fair. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And so a lot of it is just that. She plays with talented players during the summer as well.
Yeah.
She goes to camps. She works on her game. You know, in other ways as well. So a lot of it is just um, a lot of it is access and growing up in the gym. Yes, there's underlying talent, but you start putting all that stuff together. You know, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's just generally the people that you're playing against. Instead of having 2 or 3 players that are really good, you're going to run into teams that have 4 or 5 players really good, or at the 6A, you may run into a derby and everybody's good.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so it just, so it doesn't. I thought it was great when I saw just how, I was wondering, okay, well, the step up from, a 2A school, which is now 1A, into 5A, how's she going to do? And she just hit the ground running. It just was just another game.
Yeah,
And I was pretty impressed with, how quick the adjustment.
right.
And the game is still pretty slow for her.
And here's
And when the game's slow for you, it doesn't really matter what everybody else around you looks like, because the game is still slow for you.
and here's the crazy part
So,
about it.
um,
Not too long ago, I ran into Angela Buckner. I know that name rings out. And the way I ran into her, we was watching Zoe's little cousin William play. He plays at Resurrection School.
mhm,
So the family gets out and supports. They get out and support. So ran into Angela at a game,
right.
and we was talking about Zoe. I'm like, you know what? I said, at the rate she's going, I said she's going to shatter all your records that you set. She said, well, if that does happen, at least it's going to still be in the family. So, I mean, just think,
Right.
we were blessed to see Angela Buckner all her years, and now we're seeing Zoe probably end up going to be rewriting records before her time. If she stays healthy, she's going to be rewriting a whole lot of records within this league. And, whatever her point totals is at the end, I think it should all even be included, even from the independent school, because that's her career achievement.
Oh, yeah. 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 Well, I mean, how the school tallies things, is different. They don't probably factor in, where he played someplace else, but, state level records, league records, stuff like that, total points, I don't think really, no matter where your source is, um, at all. So, yep. I look forward to, you know, seeing what Capon does in the future.
Absolutely.
Because she's another player that makes people around her better.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to keep you on here much longer. I'm have to try to figure out how come these email links aren't getting sent, and try to do it again, because I know we're
Mhm.
coming up on that part of the season where it gets kind of, well, you know you find things to talk about. So maybe I'll find the
Well, it's yeah, it's you start looking at for me as a scout, yeah, you have some tryouts that are happening. You have some of those clubs that try to lock in players ahead of time. Like in the fall, so they can plan ahead. That stuff is such
right.
to me, it's just a waste of time because kids can change teams anytime they want to. They come in the spring like, oh, I'm gonna try it on this club, see if I want to play there instead.
Right. Cause, right.
Great.
'Cause I know one is coming.
But
But go ahead. Well, I was going to say,
there's some.
oh, well, I know
I was
one.
going to say that some teams hit the ground running as soon as the state tournament is over. Some clubs they don't start really playing until late May.
Right. Because I do have word that one is coming from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you saw that interview how it played out, because she was impressed by her maturity. Her name is Harper Dunn. She's 6'6" out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I think she's linked up with MoCam, because she was talking about the organization, how well they treat each other, how she loves her teammates, and she talked about Craig and Aaron Nicholson. So I know she'll be around here. But I mean, that's 6'6" of ability right there. I mean, she's already with a 20+ point scoring average, because
She's
play,
not moving to Kansas, is she? Just playing during the summer.
I think she's just playing during the summer, right?
She's just playing around during the summer.
Right. But hey,
Yeah, for the most part, those MoCan upper level teams never play in Kansas anyway. So
but I mean, if she did move to Kansas,
Phenom doesn't play in the state much. Several of those don't. So
but yeah, I'm looking forward to the I-35 showcase. That's what I'm looking forward to, because I'm gonna be out there, Lord's willing. I'll be out there again this year, taking in some good hoop action, looking at some talent up and coming. But I want to say it was a pleasure having you on here.
yeah, I thank you for
It,
inviting me back on.
it's
Appreciate it
always,
very much.
hopefully next time we can get the video side, because I'm trying to figure out what's going on with email and the links, and people saying they haven't gotten them. So I'm gonna have to check with some other guests I'm supposed to have on coming up this weekend. Get this problem rectified, or support's gonna have to tell me what's going on.
All righty.
I'm not liking this, but the fact we still
All
got to
righty.
hear your voice. I appreciate you coming on. So once again, applause. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Like I
Thank you,
say,
thank you
my
so much.
like I say,
Thank you
my
again for having me on. I
absolutely,
always like talking girls basketball. So.
absolutely. Like I say, the show isn't about me. It's more about my guests. You are the ones that actually drive the engine. So once again, thanks once again. Appreciate you.
All righty. Have a good day.
Once again, my guest, Robert Kelly. Always good to have him on. I cannot believe I have spent an hour and 36 minutes of you all's time. And anyone that has stuck with me long enough to watch this the whole time, you need to be commended, because this is some minutes of your life that you won't ever be able to get back. But I had some good guests on, and we're going to figure some things out, and it's going to get better, because it should have been studio. I mean, it should have been video, both sides, instead of just me. But it's time for me to decrease and get ready to get up out of here. Hope you have enjoyed today's show. Like I said, it's going to get better. We're going to figure out why come these emails aren't getting sent out, why come people aren't getting them. But until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Supposed to have some more coming up this Friday, so hope I get things figured out between now and Friday. So until then, take care of yourself and each other and stay warm. Today it is kind of chilly and windy out. I'm out.